Hey, it's Scott Penfold here with you for another edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. Man, I'm excited for this one this week. I'm going to be talking with James Labrie. Of course, you know him as the frontman for Dream Theater, but James is actually dropping a brand new solo album on May 20th, and it is called A Beautiful Shade of Grey. Now, this album, front to back, is absolutely sonically beautiful. It's just so well done, and kind of a departure from what you would expect from someone like James Labrie. But don't let that fool you, man. This album is incredible, with tracks like Devil and Drag, Give and Take, Sunset Ruin, Conscience Calling, and even a Zeppelin cover where he pulls out Ramble On, which is just so well done too. Now, James is joined by Paul Logue on acoustic guitars and bass, his son Chance Labrie on drums and percussion, Christian Pulkkinen on keyboards, and as well the extremely talented Marco Sfogli on lead acoustic and electric guitars, which really gives a nice accent to the album. So we're going to be spending the next full half hour with James. We're going to be talking to him about the album, and of course, though, we are going to be talking about Dream Theater too. Much to talk about there. So let's get right down to it. He is now a Grammy Award-winning artist and the frontman for just one of the most technically incredible metal bands out there today. The band is Dream Theater, and he, of course, is James Labrie. James, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Great, man. Great. First off, man, is the Mole Muzzler moniker, is that a thing of the past now for you?
Yeah, you know, so the way that goes, Scott, is back then when I first started my solo career, we were with Atlantic, and they wouldn't let me just use my name. For whatever reason, they were stubborn the first two albums, and so they said, no, you know, like you can attack. Like at the first album, they said, no, it has to go under another moniker. The second album, they said, you still have to use a moniker, but you can put your name with it. Right. And
okay.
I said, okay. And then by the third, you know, I kept grinding them and saying, this is ridiculous. Give me a break. What is this, threatening to Atlantic? Give me a break. So they finally, acquiesced and said, yeah, no problem. Yeah. But that's the whole thing. That's the reason I came up with that Mole Muzzler thing. And, you know, and I thought a combination of, you know, mauling something over and pondering it, you know, and so I thought, I'll just get wacky with some words here and put the two together. Mole Muzzler. Yeah.
The tracks I've heard on the new album, I mean, they're beautiful songs, man. And first off, you know, before we get into that, tell me about Paul Logue and his significance to the album.
Oh. His significance is immeasurable. Mm-hmm. First of all, the guy is an absolute treasure. He's such a decent, beautiful human being. And then beyond that, he's very, very musical. I mean, he's so talented. He's so deep. He's very meticulous, very methodical. He thinks things through. You know, every time we had a discussion, hey, you know, let's go a little darker tone with this song. Hey, you know, I want to try and touch on some of these blends and that musically, and you know, still keep maintaining that organic feel. He would just take it, and whether I was throwing him, you know, a riff, you know, of an idea, or I was throwing him melody ideas, he would just take that, and it would, and he'd come back to me with, okay, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of this? And you know, it was, he's very, very deep, and he's had so many years of, you know, crafting songs. He's a true songsmith. And that's what really attracted me to Paul in the first place. When they asked me back in 2011, Eden's Curse, he's in a band. When they asked me to sing on the track No Holy Man, you know, I was listening to their songs and I said, wow, I got to find out who writes these songs, because they resonate with me big time. I'm really liking this stuff, you know. And it had some of that, you know, that older rock, maybe even 80s, but there was also some elements of the 70s in there. And I was like, well, you know what? This is really cool, because the classic rock era is what, you know, influenced me. It was my formative years. And so, yeah, you know, Paul is multidimensional when it comes to the kind of musician he is. He's an extremely smart man, and he thinks about things in a more global sense. Like, I remember even like approaching him about the direction I wanted to take this album in. I said, I want to do something completely different. I want it to be challenging. I want it to be, you know, a big learning curve. And it's what any artist should do. You know, you constantly want to tread, you know, uncharted waters. That's the only way you grow.
Now, your son, Chance, plays drums on the record. Was that just a given for him to play on it?
No,
No.
and I'm glad it wasn't. It was actually Paul's suggestion. Paul had heard Chances in a band called Falsette, and actually we took them out with us when we played the Canadian dates, Dream Theater. So they played 4 shows with us, and Canada, that's a Canadian tour for sure. Yeah, right. But anyways, so Paul had been, when him and I were talking, over the years, and then at one point I had lost contact with him, but regardless, when we got back together, one of the first things I told him when we bumped into each other in the Glasgow airport is I said, you should check out my son's band called Falsette. And I said, I'm sure you get that from a lot of musicians. Hey man, my son's in the band, hey, my daughter's singing in this, And he goes, yeah, no, you're right. But I said, no, seriously, check them out. They're, called Falsette. They are amazing. And you should too, Scott. Like, they really are an incredible band. And so Paul checks it out and he gets back on it. He goes, that's your son playing drums? I said, yeah. And he goes, holy shit. He's a great drummer. And I said, yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. So let's fast forward. We're doing this. And, at this point in the game, Paul and I said, Paul, I wanted it to be, the original concept was that it was going to be acoustic guitar and vocal.
Okay.
And then I said, after we had done almost 2 songs, I said, I think we're going to be overstaying our welcome if we continue down this path, and it'll become one-dimensional. I think we need to create a full ensemble. Hence, that's why we got the rest of the guys in the band, and it became, a band thing, but more in the acoustic setting, right? Keeping it in that vein.
Sure.
And at that point, Paul said, "Well, I'm going to throw my hat in for a vote for the drummer." And I said, "Oh, okay, who do you got in mind?" He said, "Your son." I said, "Come on." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, better to come from you than from me." Right. Even though I knew that Chance would fit like a glove, I knew it would. It's kind of weird, hey guys, I'm going to get my son to play, even though he's worthy of it. He's that talented. Yeah. It still would have been almost like I'm playing my card, right? Yeah. So coming from Paul, I said, well, then you know what? You're going to ask him. And Paul did. Paul freaking, he got on the phone. He goes, Chance, I want you to play drums on this. And Chance was like, absolutely 100% I'm on it. Yeah. So it was great.
That is totally
because Chance recorded all my vocals, and he actually got involved with even all the arrangements. He would sit down with Paul and I go, guys, we got to lose the fat here. You got to trim that a little bit. Guys, you know what? This isn't, something that I feel is going to be something that's going to be palpable for, especially my age group, so can we think about this and that? And it was great to have that younger ear in there, because it made us, it gave us a different perspective. And then also, he was so involved with the recording aspects and everything that, Paul and I said, he should be going down as co-producer, because he was that much of a deal and integral to that end of things. So so it was a great addition for sure.
That's awesome, man. And the whole album being as sonic as it is, but there are a couple of tracks I did want to ask you about specifically. The first one being "Devil in Drag." I mean, it opens and closes the album. Well, what can you tell me about that song?
Well, so Paul came to me, that was probably one of the first discussions that we had. As I said, I want something in the Zeppelin-esque kind of feel, kind of groove,
right.
But it's got to be, it's got to be us. And so Paul came back to me with this word, and I was like, holy shit. Okay, this is awesome. And I came up with a melody, melodies come to me extremely fast. So, I got the melody in my head within one day, and then I started penning the lyrics. And the lyrics are about a man or a person that started out as a very decent, moralistic individual, very considerate of others. And through his career path, he became, insensitive, callous, narcissistic. And he totally turned his back on his upbringing and on his values and principles. And basically that's what it's about. So it's I thought a cool way to label that would be Devil in Drag, and that he's carrying around this ball and chain, and he can't right his wrong. Yeah.
I know that the word beautiful keeps coming up, and it's also in the album title, but it's the next song I want to talk to you about. The song Am I Right? I think is just such a beautiful song, James. And I really love that song.
Yeah. Well, so once again, Paul came to me, and he had this beautiful chordal picking progression. And I was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love this. And, once again, I always create the melody before the lyrics. I know a lot of lyricists will say, oh no, man, I just grab what I've written down and then I make it fit. And I go, yeah, you see, to me, that seems forced. And it's not that it's the wrong approach, but to me, it feels weird. It just seems like backwards, it's
right.
like putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
so
sure.
To me, I have to have the melody, and the melody also, Scott, what it does for me is it creates my mood. It creates the feel, and it always has to blend. It always has to be a perfect marriage with the music, right?
Certainly.
And so then that kind of gives me the inspiration for an idea. And with this particular song, it's about I feel lyrically, what I wanted to write about is that we are all a byproduct of every experience, every environment that we've ever been in, especially in our younger years. It is what stands before us. And in this case, this particular individual was in a very unfortunate upbringing. There was no, strong sense of family or values, and he became withdrawn. And he was in an oppressive environment, so he suppressed all his feelings. He didn't know how to express himself. So any kind of relationships were disastrous. Whether it was romantic or friends or stuff like that. He was always thought as being somewhat eccentric or odd, but it was much deeper than that. It was to the point that it was mental instability with this individual, and then that's why I go on talking about the institutions, the lies, and everything, because it's all these things that add up to create that man. And I've always said, and I loosely base these lyrics on that. There's a saying, Scott. A sociopath is made, a psychopath is born. And in this case, he's somewhat on the borderline of sociopath.
Wow.
So there you go.
Yeah, man.
So the whole thing is
it's such a beautiful song too. So I love the juxtaposition there. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, it is. But it's also like the whole word, am I right? Am I wrong? It's him questioning us as a race. As like what are you guys? What are we thinking? What are we doing? Do we not realize how destructive so many things can be, even though you might think it's innocuous? It's something that we all. I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure a lot of people think about this. Anybody with a common sense sees what goes on around us, and and I think that's the beauty of being a human being, is we're observational, and especially when you're an artist, you're constantly seeing things happen in front of you and go, I'm going to make a little mental note of that, a little mental note of that.
Sure.
And it's inspiration for sure. Yeah.
I love that you brought Marco back for the album. It layers in those beautiful accents with the solos. Now, how long have you known Marco? I know you've worked with him previously. I know he's also worked with Jordan on some stuff on the road home, but how about you and Marco's relationship? How long has that been?
17 years.
Oh, really?
17 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So he came in the Elements of Persuasion album, my solo album.
Yes.
And that was back in 2004.
Right.
So, he came in. He was a young buck at the time. I think he was 26.
Wow.
I don't know, something like that, 25, 26. And I was spellbinded by the man, even the first time I heard him, and it was just like, what the hell's going on? Who's this guy? It's like a John Petrucci apostle, but he's still got his own style, his own identity. And he is, seriously, Scott, he is like, what a treasure. He's just what an amazing guy. Once again, very humble. You know, if you were to talk to him, I don't know if you've done any interviews with him, but you should.
No,
He's
okay.
just an absolute delight. And the same with Paul. You should interview Paul because he has so much to add to this. And you know, he's a brilliant man. But Marco, you know, I just sent him an email and I said, you know, you're a real gem, Marco. Like yesterday, I sent him an email and I said, you know, I'm listening to this stuff and oh my God. I said, you know, you have such command of your respective instrument. And I said, I'm always in awe when I hear what you do, you know, with any given song or any given moment within the song. And, you know, here's the thing. I knew that the kind of player, well, first of all, I knew it had to be Marco. And I knew, you know, here's the way I look at it, is that when you're playing acoustic guitar, there's no room for, you know, cover-ups. That's really what separates the men from the boys, because you're naked. You're out there. You're exposed. You hear every note, every way that you grace that string, you know, and I knew that, like when I suggested it to Marco and I said, hey, Marco, so this is what I'm doing, but I want you to be doing all your solos. Well, pretty much all your solos. On the acoustic. And he said, I am game. Oh my God. I would love to do that. Because, you know, once again, he's an artist too, and he wants to explore. And not that he hasn't with the acoustic, but he was all about it. 100%. He was all about it. Yeah.
He's such a great player. And yes, certainly I would love to talk with Marco, man. But I mean, getting back to you, let's go back to like pre-Dream Theater and your history. I mean, you were in bands, you were in Coney Hatch for a while, then you had Winter Rose with Rich Chicky. Rich Chicky's a good friend of mine. I love that you worked with Rich. That's awesome.
Well, now, we're great friends. Yeah.
Are these all good memories for you, James?
Oh, they're all great memories. And, you know, with Coney Hatch, I had a great time. And we had been working for almost a year, and they kept telling me we were going to go in and record an album. We did. And so I moved on and started working with some other artists. And then that eventually led to Winter Rose, and that was a great run. That was an amazing band. Rich and I did some great songs together. He's such a talent. And then I brought, you know, as you know, I brought Rich into the Dream Theater fold there for a while. Yeah. He worked with us for quite some time. And yeah, he's a great talent. He's recorded me so often. It's unbelievable. And we have such a riot when we record, you know, it's like a comedy show.
That's great.
You know, but anyways, yeah.
No, you know, I got to say this to you, man. Congratulations on the Grammy for The Alien. What was that a complete surprise for you?
Yeah. I mean, you know, what? A progressive metal band winning a Grammy like that. You know, like when you think about it, you know, and we were talking about that. Did Genesis win one? Yes, win one. Rush win one?
Right.
No.
Right.
You know, and they all deservedly should. And, you know, it's crazy. It's like John said it best. He says, you know, we're up here playing what did he say? 1917 time signature. And go ahead and tap your foot to that. And look at this. Lo and behold, we got a Grammy. You know, so to me, it's inspiring and it's encouraging because it's the Grammy Academy is obviously opening up. You know what I'm saying? Like they're saying, wait a second, you know, let's give these artists their due course and reward them for what they should be rewarded. And we're very fortunate. I mean, hey man, it you know, it could have been one of the other bands. We were up against some big contenders there. Yep. And you know, so yeah, it was a complete surprise. I mean, we were all at home at the time except John.
Yep.
And you know, my family was around, and when we got, you know, it all of a sudden come in, you won. And we were just like screaming, yee-hoo! You know, yeah. So we had a little bit of a celebration that night. Needless to say, yeah. For sure.
Just to even getting back into some of your solo stuff here. I know that back to Dramatic Turn of Events with DT, that's where you started getting some music credits on the songs. Is the solo work really an outlet that just allows you to spread your creative wings? Yeah.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, is that even since, you know, Awaken on, there was a lot of moments that I was involved in. Unfortunately, some of that hasn't been documented, but that's something that we've gone back in with our publishing and said we need to straighten this out, straighten that out, whatever.
Cool, man. Good.
But yeah, because well, there's some miscommunication there, communication breakdown once again. And, yeah, to answer your question, I've always thought that there's so much more that I have to say musically than within the Dream Theater context. And it's I don't know, man. It's therapy too for me, because it allows me to get these thoughts, ideas, and feelings, out there. And it's a vehicle for me to show what kind of an artist I am, besides being whom I am within Dream Theater.
Yeah. Now, touching on Dream Theater again, I mean, this is something I certainly will ask you about, being a fan of you and, of course, the band. Fans were just elated to see you and Mike Portnoy together at that recent show in New York. Was that a significant moment for you? Can you tell me about that?
Boy. Woo! Oh, well, I'm sure you know the history, right?
I do.
You know the history. I mean, Mike and I, come on, man. Holy shit, man. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Right.
But here's how that came down, and I'll, because I know we're probably running out of time. I'll just tell you this real quick. I'll try to give you a synopsis. So we were playing at the Beacon on the day that we were playing at the Beacon on this last tour.
Yep.
John Petrucci texts me, or no, I'm sorry. My manager texts me and he says, "Hey, James, just letting you know, Mike's going to be at the show tonight, Mike Portnoy, and he really wants to see you and he wants to make amends and he wants to apologize for all the shit that, he said about you over the years, and that he's really, really sorry for anything." Okay. So anyways, I'm like, so this is what I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I said this to my manager. I said, I'm getting ready for a big show in New York and you're throwing this shit in my face. Right. I said, you know what? Wow, man, this is overwhelming. Like, how the hell? So I said, hang on, I'll get back to you, Frank. So then I text John Petrucci and I said, what is this? I said, is this for real? And John says, hang on, I'm coming down to your room. And he comes down. I said, listen, man, I'm sorry. He goes, Mike's been hitting me up forever about wanting to apologize for you. You know that. He's wanting to apologize for you for at least freaking 6-7 years. And I said, I know that, but I'm having a hard time dealing with the man because he keeps putting his foot in his mouth.
Right.
So anyways, John said, look, this is totally up to you. And I completely respect your decision. And I don't blame you for whatever you decide. And so I said, I'm going for a walk. So I kind of put on a big hat and a cap, and because, there's tons of fans around the venue, right? And I went out and I went for a half an hour walk and I cleared my mind. I called my wife before I did, and she said, you need to do this. That's what my wife said. You need to do this because you need to get this monkey off your back. And she's always my rock. But anyway, so I went for a walk, came back, and I said, okay, John, let Mike know I'll see him after the show and we'll talk. So he came up, and I could tell he was kind of nervous, and
sure,
rightfully so. And he's like, he puts his hand out and he brings it back. You know what I mean? That kind of like the body language is so apparent. And so I say, okay, come on to my room. We talk, and he let it out. Like, he just said a bunch of things, and I could tell that he was being sincere, and it was coming from the heart. And that's it. And you know what? And then we just started talking about things, life and that, and we gave each other a big hug, and he said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And that was it. Yeah. So, water under the bridge. I mean, at some point, right, Scott? Jesus, man. Yeah. Isn't there enough hate in the world? And, look at what the shit that's going on around this world right now. It's horrible.
Certainly so. Yeah. And it was really great to see. I think a lot of fans were really happy to see that as well. I mean, could you see yourself maybe at one day in the future even performing or doing something with him?
I think anything's possible. I mean, listen, Mike and I are in a great place. We've been texting back and forth, great, from time to time. I wished him a happy birthday. He wished me a happy birthday. He's like sending me a text. Hey, man, you remember this guy? And it was his drum tech McGee is his name, who used to drum tech for Dream Theater. And, so we're staying in touch. Listen, Mike's a great musician. Put it this way. If who knows what the future holds? Maybe there will be a day and I'll go, holy shit, this track would be perfect to have Mike do this. Or it might be something that comes from him, from his side. So we'll see. You know what? I'm open, and that's the thing, is that we're at a really good place now, and it should have happened a long time ago, but human beings, we have a tendency to, our pride gets the best of us, right?
Certainly does. It certainly does. Yeah. I could talk to you all day, James. This is awesome, dude.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a great interview, for sure.
Thanks very much, man. An absolute honor, James, and I can't wait to talk to you again, my friend.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Scott. Take care.
All the best, James. Take care, man.
Okay, take care. Bye.
And there he is. That is James Labrie. He has got the new solo album coming out on May 20th. It's called Beautiful Shade of Grey, Front to Back. It's an awesome listen. Trust me on this. And as well, of course, man, a big, huge congratulations going out to everybody within Dream Theater and the Dream Theater camp on their recent Grammy win for The Alien, off of Dream Theater's most recent album, A View from the Top of the World, which is out now. And that as well, just a great release from those guys too. Musicianship at its finest. Don't forget, as always, check out loadedradio.com constantly for your hard rock and metal news. It is constantly updated, as well as the 24-hour live stream and our archive of podcasts. Also, don't forget to download the Loaded Radio app. It's free, where you can bring us wherever you go. And I look forward to talking to you again next week right here on an all-new edition of the Loaded Radio podcast.
Loaded Radio.